Israeli police have caught 4 of the 6 Palestinians who escaped from a maximum security prison on Monday. 2 remain at large. The men had escaped by tunneling their way out of Gilboa prison in northern Israel. The jailbreak prompted a large-scale manhunt by the Israeli army and law enforcement agencies. One of the 4 prisoners who has been recaptured is Zakaria Zubeidi. He was a high-profile figure in Fatah's wing, the Al-Aqsa Martyrs Brigade. Meanwhile, a New York Times investigation has revealed the U.S. may have mistakenly targeted an aid worker in a drone strike that killed 10 people in Afghanistan's capital in August.
In that drone strike, the Pentagon said that it hit Isil bombers who were planning an imminent attack on the airport. We know that civilians were killed in that, but now this investigation has used CCTV footage, has talked to more than a dozen of the target's family members and colleagues, and found out that he was actually a worker for a US aid organization. They also showed that he was loading canisters of water into the car and not explosives, as the Pentagon had said. And they're also alleging that there wasn't secondary explosions, which is what the Pentagon used to prove that they knew that there were explosives in the car.
Britain's Prince Andrew was served with a lawsuit by a woman accusing him of sexual assault and battery 2 decades ago. That's according to a Friday court filing in which Virginia Giuffre also said she was being abused by late financier Jeffrey Epstein. In the affidavit filed with the U.S. District Court in Manhattan, Cesar Sepulveda, a self-described corporate investigator and process server, said he left a copy of Giuffre's lawsuit on August 27th with a police officer who was guarding a property in Windsor, England, occupied by Andrew. Spokespeople for Andrew said on Friday that his lawyers had no comment, though Andrew had previously denied the allegations. A source close to Andrew's legal team said the prince had not been personally served.
The goddess of democracy, a symbol of the 1989 pro-democracy student movement in Beijing, being carted away from a museum commemorating the Tiananmen Square crackdown. Officers have also taken away photos, as well as dozens of boxes and materials. The alliance, which runs the venue, is the latest target of Beijing's sweeping national security law, which China imposed on Hong Kong in June 2020 in response to the city's pro-democracy protests. The controversial law criminalizes secession, subversion, and collusion with foreign forces.
The final touches, followed by cheers from workers as Nord Stream 2 is completed. The gigantic infrastructure project has even bigger political implications, which Ukraine's president sounded the alarm over in August.
I believe this is a weapon. I believe that it's wrong not to see that this is a dangerous weapon, not only for Ukraine, but for the whole of Europe.
The 1,230-kilometre-long pipeline would transfer natural gas from Russia to Germany under the Baltic Sea, bypassing Ukraine, which would deal a devastating blow to Kiev's role as a transit country for natural gas. Ukraine pumps between 80 to 90 billion cubic meters of Russian gas to European markets each year.
The delegation of the Economic Community of West African States arrived with 2 things in mind: to push for a quick return to constitutional order and to free deposed President Alpha Conde. To do that, they needed to meet this man, Colonel Mamadi Doumbouya, who toppled the 83-year-old Conde. After an hour of talks, some concessions, and Guinea's strongman left with ECOWAS in tow. Next destination, the headquarters of the Guinean Special Forces, where they met Alpha Conde.
Now, in a bid to fight the COVID-19 surge, South Africa has started a vaccine trial in children. The trial of China's Sinovac biotech COVID-19 vaccine is a part of a global study. This study will focus on children in the age group from 6 months until 17 years. The South African government aims to vaccinate at least about 40 million of its 60 million population by the end of this year. But it is struggling to reach its target of vaccinating at least about 300,000 people every day. Earlier, the nation had got itself into some pretty tough negotiations with the pharmaceutical companies, and this had slowed down its plans to use AstraZeneca's vaccine from February. Later on, the South African drugs regulator gave some conditional authorization to China's Sinovac vaccine in July. The government now plans to see Sinovac's performance against the Delta variant as well as against people with HIV. A Zimbabwean court Friday upheld a traditional court's ruling that the body of former President Robert Mugabe should be exhumed and reburied at a national shrine in the capital. The Guniea Magistrate Court rejected an appeal by Mugabe's children that the traditional court's ruling should be ignored. The 3 children had challenged the exhumation ruling made by the traditional chief of the Vimba area, Mugabe's rural home. Mugabe's current grave in the Vimba area is part of the chief's jurisdiction. The chief had ruled in May that Mugabe's widow, Grace, had violated traditional customs by organizing Mugabe's burial in the family home compound. He also fined Grace 5 cows and a goat for not carrying out the burial properly.